Chelsea have signed Morgan Rogers, and how huge could this be for Xabi Alonso's new rebuild of Chelsea? This guy could absolutely change how Chelsea play, and he adds that extra spark that they have missed in the past year with the injury of Cole Palmer and his form issues. So, how massive could Chelsea look coming into the next season with Morgan Rogers coming in? After the break, I will talk about why this matters for not only Chelsea, but Aston Villa and the wider Premier League, and also what he will bring to Chelsea. This is a massive transfer, and you better watch this, because he is going to be huge for Chelsea in the upcoming future. Okay, so a British transfer record is on the cards with 117 million British pounds up for this transfer from Aston Villa to Chelsea for Morgan Rogers. And this could absolutely change how we look at how Chelsea play. And it is going to impact not only Chelsea, but Aston Villa hugely. They are losing a massive creator, a massive player that they have used hugely within their game. And he's gonna be leaving Aston Villa for the dead, and they are going to be looking to work more into this transfer window because they have to replace Morgan Rogers and what he has done. What else does this change for the Premier League? Well, it's big. It's massive money for a player of such high quality, and he has brought so much to not only Aston Villa, but to the England environment. We saw him in Thomas Tuchel's system, starting against Argentina off the right, and he made impact there. His ability to make impact to games, to create chances, and to make those driving runs, he's almost another Jude Bellingham, and that is something to absolutely look forward to if you're a Chelsea fan. He is going to be really big in how both sides seem to play in the next coming months and for the future, because this is going to be a rebuild for Aston Villa, because he was the pivot. He was pivotal in how Aston Villa played in the past few years, and he has been such a huge role. But I don't believe he has been everything for them. They still have such a good side behind him. So it shouldn't be too hugely dependent on him in this transfer this next season, but they are going to have to replace him, and with some big names coming in, because otherwise they will struggle to be able to create chances and be the giant killers they were and have been in the past few seasons. Now, on the other hand, for Chelsea, they are going to be firing from this transfer. This is a massive one and could absolutely be what they need moving forward, because they have struggled mentally within their game and tactically over the past few months in the Premier League under Liam Rosenier before he was sacked. And now with the new manager, Xabi Alonso, there is going to be a bit more, I feel, solidity with Chelsea. They are not going to be a side who are going to be spending millions and millions. Well, they have, but transferring 10 players in and kicking 10 players out every transfer window. I think if Xabi Alonso has the reins of this Chelsea side, he will have a big window here, but I think that will benefit them in the future, and they will look to play some completely different football to what they have been playing. Now, we cannot agree this is going to be instant success, and we know that isn't going to be the case. We saw in Alexander Isak's case, he was definitely not an instant success for Liverpool, partly because of his injury, but then also because he had to get used to the Liverpool system under Slot, and now he's going to have to get used to Iraola's system. So we cannot look to Morgan Rogers to be the instant success that some people will expect from him, but we can most certainly get excited within the next year, because he will be a huge player and play a big role for Chelsea within the long-term future. He has been massive for Aston Villa, and because of that experience at Aston Villa in the Premier League, he could be in it like a player that instantly impacts Chelsea, and he could be a player that brings a bit of a fresh outlook to Chelsea. That's massive when it comes to a bit of a rebuild for a really disappointing Chelsea side over the past 6 or so months. After the break, I'll be delving more into the tactics of this transfer and what he is going to bring to Chelsea. There is no doubt that Morgan Rogers is going to produce an impact on Chelsea, and he's going to bring something different. And with Xabi Alonso's new system, we are expecting him to play likely a 3-4-3 or a 3-4-2-1 to Chelsea. And with that, Chelsea have needed to bring in some big players. And how they are going to work under Xabi Alonso is questionable. But because they have brought Morgan Rogers in, I think he is going to be a bit of a versatile role within the midfield and attack for Chelsea. As we know, they're likely going to set up with João Pedro up front, but then comes the questions of whether Palmer's going to stay. He highly likely will be, but if he does, then he will play likely a centre attacking midfield role at the cam, and that's where Morgan Rogers often does play, and that's where I think he'll be a backup role. He'll be a good backup for the likes of Cole Palmer, but he needs to start. If you are paying £117 million for a football player in the first place, you have to be playing him and starting him in every single match. And that's why I think Morgan Rogers will play a winger or an inside forward sort of role. And I think the left wing is where he is wanted. We have seen them struggle on the wings at times, Chelsea. They do have really good players such as Neto and Garnacho, but I think they have struggled at times with Garnacho on the left wing, and he is likely to leave. Morgan Rogers' ability to play nearly anywhere up front is why I think Morgan will be playing at left wing starting, since Garnacho is likely to leave. Well, his ability for Chelsea, though, Chelsea fans have to be excited. He's not going to be the wide winger that makes really wide runs and tries to dribble past all the opponents. But I think Morgan Rogers brings something different and something that is going to be difficult for teams to shut down. His ability to create opportunities and create a bit of a spark is exactly what Chelsea need. But also those runs forward are going to be key. When you do have players like João Pedro and Cole Palmer up front who don't often make those big runs forward, he is another option moving forward to look for when Chelsea are attacking. Now, for the rest of the midfield, you're likely going to see an Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo, but that's where I think there will be wing backs as well. So 3-4-2-1 is likely where they're going to go. So if you have Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez in those defensive midfield roles, you're going to have the wing backs, and they are certain players we don't know yet, but then you move forward to the 2-1 at the front. So where I think Xabi Alonso will go is he will have Cole Palmer on the right, inside forward sort of role, and then Morgan Rogers as the left inside forward. This is actually a really good option here, because then you've got João Pedro up front. Those two players have a bit of a fluid role outside and inside the box, making runs. Cole Palmer and Morgan Rogers. Then we have the wing backs who can use that width. So Xabi Alonso has so many options moving forward. It's just the question of whether he has the defensive solidity, and that's where Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez defending, helping that back three, are going to be key. Alright, after the break, I will bring you back with a massive question, and it's not about Chelsea, it's about Aston Villa, because of this transfer news. The big question on the other side of the story for Aston Villa after Morgan Rogers' transfer to Chelsea is, are Aston Villa left with scraps because of this? Are they going to struggle to have a missing player such as Morgan Rogers out from the side? Are they now going to struggle to create opportunities, to have a player that's going to get them out of sticky situations? When I first look at this, most people will be thinking, yes, Aston Villa are going to be fully out. They are not going to be in the hot seat for the Premier League next season. They are going to struggle. But when you delve a bit deeper, when Aston Villa were playing later in the season, Morgan Rogers actually wasn't incredible. And let's be honest with this, Morgan Rogers isn't a player that is going to be consistent every single game, but he is going to bring an incredible range of options for Chelsea and is a very strong player moving forward. But I think Aston Villa, under Unai Emery, have built a side that is so strong and so balanced that they still can be effective without big players there. And that's what we saw later in the season when Morgan Rogers was a bit less in form and struggled a bit more. And also when they had the likes of Ollie Watkins struggling hugely to score goals, Aston Villa are able to adapt to these issues. And we know Unai Emery is so good at adapting to issues and getting the best out of his players. So I believe they will not be left with scraps after this leave from Morgan Rogers to Chelsea. But we have to agree on the fact that they are going to still need a lot to replace such a player of Morgan Rogers' ability. Now, with this, what this changes within their transfer window is it means that they have got 117 million. Will have to pay 12 million to the championship side they got him from, but they have gained a huge amount of money, and this will be, first of all, distributed towards the transfers of João Gomez and Manzambi, and then will also be needed to replace Morgan Rogers and get a bit more depth within the rest of the side. Now, they have made some sales as well during this transfer window. Some sales of Yuri Tielemans, Donny Almarlin, who was obviously away on loan before this, but also, and Luca Dean. So those are three massive players who they have had to replace. And also an injury to Amadou Onana with an ACL injury, which has put him out for a very long time. So they have had to replace those few players as well. That's why they brought in Manzambi and João Gomez. So I expect those defensive midfield roles, should be secure now. That I don't think they will be in the market for defensive midfield roles too much more within the rest of this transfer window. They will more now be wanting to, first of all, replace Morgan Rogers. And yes, they have got Manzambi and Gomez, but they are not exactly what Morgan Rogers brought. And I think we will never be able to fully replace him. But they need to bring in at least another attacking midfielder who has a bit of magic. Possibly younger. And yes, this issue is not going to be easy to achieve easily, but also have low wages, because that is an issue they have struggled with as well. Their high wages they have had to pay. But overall, they're going to have to bring in someone else, attacking-minded for Aston Villa. But then you also think Martinez, in goalkeeper, may be leaving this summer, so they'll have to replace him there. And then in the fullback roles, that is possibly where they are least have the least depth in, where they only have Matson and Cash. They will need to get at least one there as well. And then we also look forward, and they have a few issues on the wings. They don't have barely any quality on the wings. So that is where they're going. They've got quite a few places to pay to get players in for. So Aston Villa have a big transfer window ahead of them still. It is definitely not over for them, and they have a decent amount of money to play with now. Yes, their PSR issues are still there, but they will look better after this transfer. After the break, we'll close out the episode, but also talk about what is next from this transfer, and what do these clubs do? How do they finish with this Premier League, and how they will overall be affected from these transfers? Okay, so Morgan Rogers has gone to Chelsea, but what is the implementation? What happens next because of this? Well, let's first of all talk about Chelsea. So Chelsea, from this, they are going to come out as a new side. They are going to have that rebuild and have those fresh faces in. And this is a massive statement by Xabi Alonso. Wants to bring in some big players and have a big playmaker alongside Cole Palmer moving forward. How does this change their mindset? This could be massive. They have had issues moving forward, but from this, they still have issues at the back. They need to bring in some new players to help them be solid defensively. For Aston Villa, what happens next after this? They have a massive transfer window ahead of them still, and there is a lot to look forward to get excited by, because there is going to be a rebuild here. But it also means that there could be some issues, some financial issues, and also some quality issues within the side that Unai Emery is going to have to fix. But new faces all around the Premier League now, and this could absolutely change how the Premier League looks. Chelsea and Aston Villa now are possibly likely chances at going very far in this Premier League, and we know they have been that for the past long time. But this transfer could change a whole lot in how the Premier League looks. What does this change for overall for these two sides? How does the Premier League end because of this? I'm going to predict that right now. I believe for Chelsea, this transfer is actually groundbreaking for them. And yes, it's not. We know there have been some huge transfers to Chelsea and they have not worked. But I think the quality manager they have, Xabi Alonso, and then mixed with that extra quality up front with Morgan Rogers, I think they have a huge shot at getting Champions League football again. I don't think they are going to win the Premier League, but there is actually a lot to look forward to here. And we saw some good signs early in last season from Chelsea, and I believe they can finish third in the Premier League this season. That is my prediction because of Morgan Rogers' transfer to Chelsea. He is going to change this side. Then we look at Aston Villa. Now this could leave them in the dumps. This could make them struggle, but I think they are still absolutely a Champions League European chasing side for those spots. And still, they have that quality within the whole side and the quality of the manager, Unai Emery, to go for Champions League. I think they will finish fourth this season, yet again. And I think they have enough overall, but they still need a lot in the rest of this transfer window. This is going to impact not only how Premier League sides face up against these sides, but also the title race, the race for Europe. This is going to absolutely transform that. Morgan Rogers is a massive player for Chelsea, but it also means it gives Aston Villa leeway to bring in more players and replace the likes of Rogers and Tielemans who are leaving. This is a rebuild for both sides and a bit of a rebuild for the Premier League. Let's get excited because there is so much to look forward to in the Premier League, and I will be bringing you through that every step of the way. So stay tuned for more and get excited because these are some huge moves and hugely exciting players to watch and teams to watch within the next year in the Premier League. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.